Welcome to the Noon at Northside podcast with your host, Pastor Stephanie.
Well, welcome back, everybody. So I know we've had a little bit of delay, but we're into the end of the month of October. And if you remember, here in October, we're talking about worship. We're answering the question, what is worship? A few weeks ago, I talked about, what worship means to me and how I've interacted with it, and, a little bit about like the definition of worship and what it represents for us all. But today we've got two special guests who are going to be talking to us about worship. We have Jeff and Melissa Tapp, who are two of our worship leaders who have been, leading us in worship every Sunday here at Northside, really since around the beginning of the pandemic. But they also worshiped with us when we had our old worship pastor here with us for a few years before that. So they've been with us for a bit, and they're going to kind of come in and talk to us about what worship is to the two of them, because, like we've been talking about, just because we each have different perspectives, and worship is one of those things where everyone seems to have a different perspective, and it's beautiful to listen and learn from everyone else's perspective. So I'm excited for you guys to hear more from our two worship leaders, outside of up on the stage on Sunday morning, just to get to know them a little bit more, to hear them and interact with them. It's going to be a really awesome thing. So I'm going to leave you guys with Jeff and Melissa to kind of hear what they have to say and to answer the question, what is worship?
Hi, Northside. This is Jeff.
This is Melissa.
And we are two of your worship leaders.
Yeah.
And we thought this was going to be kind of an interview and response process, and
it's not.
Yeah, Stephanie left us all alone, so now you're just going to get us rambling for a bit.
So bear with us. We're going to try really hard to make this interesting, but who knows?
Now, if you've never actually met us in person, but you've seen us on stage, we wanted to give you a little bit of information about us, who we are, what we do, and a little bit of our history. And then, I don't know, we'll just kind of see where that takes us. So we've been married for 23, almost 24 years.
Yep, it'll be 24 years in June.
We have 3 wonderful kids. We've been coming to Northside since it was right before Michael was born, right?
No. It was shortly after Gabby was born. Or Toby.
So that would have been almost 17 years ago.
I think we've probably been coming here for about 16 years is what it is. Because we were here for a little while before I got pregnant with Michael.
And I helped out with, on the worship team for a little while. And then after Pastor Dan was set to retire, they came and asked me if I'd be interested in helping. And so I went to Melissa and I was like, listen, I really want to do this, but you've always been my better half, so I'm going to need your help. And there's kind of an interesting story with that, because she was working a job at the hospital that worked weekends and lots of crazy hours. And
it was only every third weekend, but even every third weekend, when Jeff came to me and asked me, if they want me to help out with this, and I would like to, but I really need your help too. And I thought, well, that's going to be difficult since I work every third weekend, and started thinking about it and mulling it over in my head. And I just thought, okay, Lord, if you want me to help with this, if this is something that, I'm supposed to do, then we need to open a door. We need to make something happen so that I'm not, gone every third weekend. I just felt like that wouldn't really be fair to the rest of the team. And, it was funny because I kind of got this little voice in my head saying, well, you have to look. And so I got on the internet and I looked for other MLT positions in the area, MLT being a medical laboratory technician. That's what I do. And just so happened that there was an opening at the Elkhart Clinic, which is equally close to my house. And I had a friend that worked there anyway, so I contacted him and I was like, hey, Sam, do you guys really have an opening? And he's like, yes, and if you want it, tell me, and I'll make sure they talk to you. And it was pretty quick after that. I mean, everything went really quickly, and I ended up going to work at the Elkhart Clinic for 2 years, and it was a great position. I enjoyed it, and it made it it was very accommodating for me to be able to come and help with worship. And luckily so far, even though I've gone to doing the travel technician, luckily I've gotten, to be available on the weekends still. So
yeah, it's been a real blessing having you here too, because it's I don't know, I didn't want to feel like this was something that was going to take more time away. And I don't know if any of you are used to serving. Sometimes you have to walk that line between how much time you're committing to your family and how much time you're committing to your church family. And, it's all about balance. So this was something that was really great that we could do together. And that's been 3 years now. So, yeah, we absolutely love it. It's a fantastic opportunity to serve, to use our talents that God has saw fit to bless us with. Neither one of us are what I would call formally trained in worship. Neither of us went to school for this. No. We both were musicians in high school. Melissa plays the cello. Yeah. I played actually brass instruments in high school, and then learned to play guitar just kind of on my own. And we both sang, but it was always just kind of recreational for us until, we were called to put that to use.
At least until somebody better comes along.
Yeah.
But I have to say, you were talking when you first said something about us being some of the worship leaders. I really appreciate that, because we do have a phenomenal team of people that we deal with in the worship area. We've got Dan, who is a fantastic drummer and is just really great at taking the lead in a lot of things. I mean, when there's a slack in the line, Dan is sure to pick it up. And we've got Mike, who's just an incredible teacher, just in his patience and in his wisdom. Just having him around is fantastic. And, JD is a phenomenal musician and a really great person to have around also. And Tim, and now we've got some other people joining us, and it's been fantastic having more people come aboard. And, we've had people come through and not really stick around, but it was great to have them there, and everybody has kind of brought their own flavor into the mix, and I think it's all very important, and I think it's all been very, a great blessing.
Absolutely. We've also got, the tech staff that comes in, that runs the slides, that gets the Facebook feed ready, that makes sure the music is balanced and that everybody's mics aren't squealing. And and really there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. A lot of times we'll have, an hour and a half or 2 hours of practice during the week, and then we'll be there about 8:30 in the morning to go through everything again. So, this all volunteer team comes together for 3, 4, 5 hours a week to get things put together. There's just a lot of hard work and dedication, and really they make this work. So we would be remiss if we didn't give them all credit.
No, we are definitely a tiny part of the whole here.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really, that kind of leads into one thing that I wanted to talk about, was sort of our perspective, or my perspective, on worship, because sometimes it's really easy to lose track of the actual spirit of worship when you're so kind of set on performance. The musician in you or the performer in you takes over, and you're worried about key signatures, or you're worried about timing, and you're worried about the right notes, or the right chords, and did I get this, should I put in one more repeat of the bridge, or what's going to happen? Nobody's standing, it doesn't look like anybody's getting into it, and all of a sudden you lose track of how much you're there to worship and you're performing. And And I find that it's always a kind of a constant thing for me that during practices, I sort of kind of get into the mechanical side of it. But then on Sunday morning, something about the energy and that final push just to let go and you just kind of pray, God, move through me, don't,
even if it means moving me out of the way.
Yeah, don't get me out of your way.
Yeah.
And that's just that's really tough. We end up just getting in the way sometimes with our own human nature, and so it's a challenge to put that humanness aside and just be willing to be up there. And I always say that I love Pastor Tim's sermons and I learn a lot from them, but man, sometimes on Sunday morning I just that worship, that song time, that's mine. That's my ability to just leave everything up there to give everything over to the King of Kings. And that's for me. I don't know, when you say what is worship, for me that's just, I think it's that reminder, that state of mind that you own none of it. It's everything is for him and by him and through him. And it's just that recognition, that ability to say, thank you for everything I have. Thank you for taking care of everything that's going to go wrong. Thank you for being there for all of it. No matter what the circumstance is right now, no matter the pain or the joy, I'm here to give you credit, to give you praise for who you are. So what about you? What is worship to you?
I don't know if I can really put a definition to what worship is. I will say that I'm never. It never ceases to amaze me how there are some of those weeks where you and I have talked about it on, say, Friday night or even Saturday morning about what are we doing this weekend? Like, what are we even singing on Sunday? And, we look at the songs and it's like, okay, and we're not really sure exactly how it's going to go. And even in practice on Sunday morning, it kind of feels like things aren't really gelling. And then there's something about, like you were talking about, something about when we actually get into the service and God's presence is there and it's palpable and everybody's in the moment. But I feel like that happens more often than not, and I feel like that is 100% God showing up and saying, you came, you were willing, I honor that, let's go, let's do this. And it's amazing.
Give me what you got, I'm going to use it.
It is amazing. And I really appreciate when people come up afterward and tell us how awesome the music was and what a blessing the music was. And it's like, I appreciate that. And please don't think I'm saying don't tell me that, because I do appreciate that. But at the same time, it really, I can't tell you enough how much that's not us.
And it's humbling to know that God has chosen to use you to facilitate that. You can we have the opportunity to serve up there and to see, to actually watch the Holy Spirit move.
Oh, yeah.
And man, can that be powerful? When you've got somebody out there and that they have just completely entered into worship and they have sold out 100%.
Or they have just received the very word that they needed from God, and you can see it. You can see it on their face. You can see it in their eyes, even though, it's hard to see all of that detail from where we are. You do see it and you can feel it. And there are times we've practiced a song in practice, and Sunday morning I'm thinking, I don't even know if this song is really I don't know if anybody's gonna get this one.
My voice is gonna crack, or
and it never fails that's the song that somebody says, that song really spoke to me today, and
that was the one I needed.
It just reminds me that not every song is for me. Not every song will be the song that touches me, but it's for somebody. It's not in the set on accident. I don't believe any of the songs we have get in on accident. And I don't think that there's one song that we've sung that didn't speak to somebody.
Yeah. And it is amazing. Like I said, it is humbling to be allowed to be a part of that, experience. Mm-hmm. To say, wow, I'm not worthy of taking any credit at all for this. I mean, you just allowed me to be here, and that is phenomenal. Yeah. And sometimes it's also, like I talked about earlier, it's a little bit it can be a little bit strange when you're up there singing and you don't feel like anybody is really engaged, like maybe it's just the weather, or maybe it just happened to be the time change, or I don't know, maybe it's something going on in the world that's just got everybody sort of out of it, and you're up there and you're thinking, man, this is the one. We're really gonna send this one home, and it's just like, no, I know you're. Well, maybe not. Maybe they're not feeling it. Maybe that wasn't it. And I think that's my humanness, trying to take control and say, God, I got this one. And He's like, yep, tell me how that works out for you.
Yep. I mean, because you never know that, if the song that you sang that nobody really reacted to, maybe later this week they're singing that song at a moment when they really needed it. Yeah. And they're just humming it in their mind, and they can't even necessarily put their finger on where they heard it, but it's there. And I get that a lot. Songs speak to me a lot, which is probably pretty obvious sometimes. But there'll be a lot of times during the week at work when I'm having a rough time that one of the songs that we sang on Sunday or the Sunday before or whenever will pop into my head, and it instantly lifts my mood. But, going back to what does it mean to worship, I think it would be horrible if I didn't say again that as much as we appreciate people's appreciation of what we're doing, we're really up there for just the audience of one. There really is only one that matters. And so I try to remember that when I don't see the reactions that I think are going to be coming, or when I don't hear people singing along the way that I would expect them to be singing along. I just know that my Savior is listening, and it's important to Him, and He's loving it just because I'm singing it from my heart for Him.
Well, and you had mentioned, one of the verses that you had thought about, especially pertaining to worship, was Luke 2:11. And that was you got it. I was going to say, I don't have it memorized. So, but it's the one about the rocks.
No, that's 1940.
Oh, excuse me, 1940.
Yep. Luke 1940. And He answered and said, I tell you that if these shall hold their peace, the stones will cry out. And that's just something that whenever I'm singing or whenever we're getting ready to do worship or something, I often think there's no way I'm going to let the stones and nature sing for me. I'm not going to let the rest of the world worship God in that way for me. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it in my car. I'm gonna do it at church. I'm gonna do it at work. It doesn't matter. So yeah.
Well, and worship for us, I think we kind of covered the fact that for us, our worship is serving, but clearly, music is a central part of that for us.
Yeah.
So we didn't talk about this earlier, but favorite song that we do, like, what would you say is one that just, like, every time we do it, that's you can feel yourself just sink into that place where you and the Lord are just side by side.
There's a couple of them. I think one of the deepest moments of worship that I've had as a quote-unquote worship leader was probably, this song pretty much does it all the time, but when we sang on Easter Sunday with Trisha and Julie, and we did There's a King, that one, there's just something about the lyrics of that song that really remind you of, who he is. And that he, as a king, is still here among us and, here for us. And it's just, that one's a good one. And I also get kind of caught up in So Will I, or 100 Billion Times. That one, that one gets me.
Yeah, that one's a great song. I would say, for me, Redeemed is probably one that it just...
You can't even talk about it.
I can't. I'm getting choked up now just thinking about it. I'm not even singing it.
Yeah.
That one, man.
Well, and just to kind of take a minute to give you a break to kind of collect yourself here. As a team, as a married couple, being able to do this together has been, I'd say this has probably been a growing thing for us. And I've developed a deep appreciation for your abilities as, a musician and as a worship leader. And some of the most incredible moments for me are when I catch out of the corner of my eye that, you've got your hands up or your hands are off your guitar and out in front of you. And it's just like, for me as your wife, it's like, I don't know, that's a very strong moment for me. And it's been something that I've really appreciated being able to be a part of with you. So
Steve Sears has always asked, how was I able to clap, play the guitar, sing, and raise my hands all at the same time? Because it shouldn't be possible.
All right. That's true.
But that's not something that I was ever very comfortable with. It's just another one of those, I don't know, who's looking? And I think at some point you kind of mature to the point where you're like, God's looking.
Yeah.
You got to do what you feel led to do. So.
Yep. Well, and that's something that I think we're still working on, trying to encourage everybody to do. Is like, don't let somebody else's opinion of you influence how you worship.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got to be true. That's your time with God. That's your time, your opportunity to give that all back, to leave everything at the door, to come away and sometimes, it's a metaphor that gets used a lot, but sometimes it feels like we've strapped on this backpack full of lead weights. We drag them around with us all over the place. And for me, worship is really that chance to just take that off. Set it down, even if it's for 15 minutes or a half an hour, because, as human beings, we're going to want to pick those back up again because that's what we do. Even though God's sitting there going, I'd take that if you let me. And you're like, no, I can do this. But at least for the time, you can get away from that sense of burden, and you can just worship the King. And it's such a freeing experience. So I don't know. That's about all I've got, I think.
I think there was one other thing that I would say. It kind of stems off of what you're talking about. Is I think something that I've learned in the last few years is that worship, when you really, really worship, it is for God and it is to God. But I think that God wants us to do that so that he can give back to us. Because when you take that backpack full of lead weights off and you leave it on the ground for a little while, you give him a chance to lift you up, and you give him a chance to kind of bolster you and strengthen you. And, you know, it's kind of I think it's kind of cyclical. You know, you give your worship to God and he fills you back up. And so, I mean,
you pour it out and he fills it up and you pour it out again.
It's kind of selfish in a way, but at the same time, I mean, I think that's what its intention is to give us an opportunity to give back to him so that he can give to us more, even more abundantly, if that's possible. But
so I'd say this Sunday, if you've got the opportunity to join us, come and worship with us. You know, come and leave all that weight behind and take 20 minutes and put your arms in the air and sing and praise and worship. And you know what? It doesn't matter if you think you got a good voice, and it doesn't matter if you think anybody else is looking at you funny, and it doesn't matter what you're wearing. It just matters that you're there. And it matters.
All you got is a joyful noise. Make it.
Make it. Make it. So, well, like I said, I think that's all I've got.
Yeah, I think we covered most of it.
Thanks for listening to us ramble, and hopefully if anybody's got any questions, or we don't necessarily take requests, but sometimes, every now and then, I don't know.
And it's not that we don't take requests. We take requests and we take them into consideration, and ultimately, though, I really feel like somewhere along the line, that lineup is set.
Yeah.
Like, and we have very little to do with it. We make suggestions. We make suggestions, and it still gets all.
You'd be surprised at the number of songs that get thrown in there on Sunday morning because they need to be there.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
But.
Game day decisions.
Yeah. If you get the chance, come and worship with us. We look forward to seeing you.
Absolutely.
Take care, everyone. Be blessed.
Thank you, Jeff and Melissa. That was awesome. I want to say I don't intentionally leave everyone alone when they come in to do these podcasts, but I want to say that the reason, we do these podcasts the way we do them is because there is something very special about just hearing a person's story, a person's perspective. Without, answering someone else's questions that can be biased or one-sided, without, scripting it out, where, you tell me exactly what I want you to say, what I want to hear. But just to leave it all out there and be open and vulnerable with God and vulnerable with, our brothers and sisters in Christ, because that is a huge part of growing and learning. And, we are all being formed when we listen to these podcasts. We don't really realize it, but it is a chance to bond together as, the body of Christ. Even if we're not in person, we're listening to someone else's story. We're listening to them be vulnerable, and we get the chance to respond to that and be vulnerable ourselves and grow together. And on top of that, we're discipling and learning more about God and more about our faith, and it's wonderful. And Jeff and Melissa, what you had to say was incredible. And if you haven't yet listened to this, go back and listen to it again, because it is so incredible to hear from our worship leaders just what worship is to them. Because you can sit there on Sunday mornings and listen to them perform and listen to them sing and play their instruments and not fully understand what's happening. But this is something real. And like Jeff said, it doesn't matter if you think you can sing or you think you can play really well or you think you're making a fool of yourself. Worship is just about letting it go, giving it all back to God, praising Him. Like Melissa said, if you've got a joyful noise, make it. That noise could be weird and off tune, but off key, but who cares? That's worship, and God doesn't care that you sing the right note or play the right note or sound amazing. God doesn't care if you add harmony or whatever. God just cares that you're doing it. And like they said, just show up, because that's what worship is. It's just showing up for God. And it's incredible. I thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for being here and doing this podcast. And I thank all of you guys for listening. And I just, I hope you guys can make it back for next week or next month. We're going to head into the month of November, which is going to be our last topic for, the year. And then we're going to dive into a whole new year in next January in 2023. And I'm really excited to, continue to learn and fellowship with you guys here on this podcast. If you guys would, if you're listening to this, go ahead and drop a few comments below, whether you're watching this on YouTube or watching this on Facebook. Let me know what you think of the podcast, this episode, but all the other episodes. Let me know, what you would like to hear, what you would like to interact with. Let me know who your, favorite guest speakers were and what they had to say and the things you learned the best about or the most about. I really want to hear from you guys. So drop a comment, let me know, and until next time, I hope you guys have a fantastic, wonderful time. I'm praying for each and every single one of you. No matter who's listening to this, I'm praying for you. Thank you. Have a blessed day.